Today, we're focusing on goals that change your life. This goal setting method is to free up time, prevent burnout, and create a happier life, all in just 30 minutes a day. I would just say make sure you've got a pen and paper for this one because there will be some exercises for you to do. If you don't have time to do that now, set yourself 45 minutes or so at another time when you won't be interrupted. So, what we're going to cover today, these are the top three things that people say to me in terms of why they can't set goals or why they can't stick to goals or why they can't invest in their own personal development. First off, I don't have time. Second of all, I don't know where to start. And third of all, how do I commit and keep focus? So, why do I talk about goals? Well, first up, I experienced burnout once. It was just after COVID. I think it happened to a lot of us around that time. And it's more prevalent than ever in our society, with up to 46% of women stating that they do have or have felt burnt out. It's my personal belief that a huge part of burnout stems from a lack of purpose in our lives, a misalignment with our purpose, and or a failure to meet our own needs. So goals actually solve both of these problems. They give us focus, they give us purpose, and if you need change in your life, they help you to start working towards that change. So why now? Well, if you're in the UK and probably many other places in the world, life is pretty depressing. We're constantly being shown hideous images of wars around the world. People seem to be suffering everywhere you turn. The cost of living is worse than ever. And as I record this, it's been raining for about 3 days without stopping. So for me, goals help us to change our own world. We can't change the entire world, but we can change the world around us. Who started this year thinking that they'd do something and didn't? I want you to do this now so that you don't end another year with a whole bunch of I wish I. So, if you don't know me already, I'm Kirsten and I'm from Oxford, UK, and I now live in Norfolk. I'm a busy mum of one. I have two businesses and two jobs. And my passion business, Shine, exists to help busy working women just like you take time out and learn tools for more peace and less stress. I do that by creating beautiful and transformative retreat experiences and also via one-to-one coaching. In 2022, I qualified as both a coach and a meditation teacher. And in 2023, I started this dream business. But it's definitely not always been an easy or a smooth ride. In 2016, my marriage had ended and I'd pretty much reached breaking point. I wanted so many things from life that I didn't currently have. I wanted to buy my home. I wanted to be out of debt. I wanted to instill the habits that I never had time for. I wanted to be happy. And 8 years on, and I've achieved all of those things and more. And now I help other people to change their lives. Don't get me wrong, life is not plain sailing. Life is still life. But I've learned so many tools now to work on my resilience, to build strength, and this practice has been transformational for me. So, just to recap, the things that we're going to cover today are time. I don't have any time. I don't know where to start. And how do I commit and keep focus? So, let's get started with time. Time is super precious. It's easily used. It's easily wasted. We're constantly sucked into different things. We're sucked into school things. We're sucked into home things, relationship things, washing, home accounts, life admin, kid admin, school admin. The list is endless. So, one of the biggest shifts I want you to make here is your mindset around your time. If you're never prepared to find or give yourself that time, you will never get more. So, you will never make the strides that you want to make. So you have to, at some point, change your mindset and decide that you're going to give yourself this time and give yourself this gift. After a while, if you are giving yourself this time, even if it's just that 30 minutes a day, it becomes like brushing your teeth or doing your skincare or emptying the dishwasher. You have to do it because you know what your life is like without it. So, how? How do I find time? So, I'm going to call bullshit on something. How many of us say we don't have time, and how many of us say that and can honestly, hand on heart, say that we don't have time? I'm not here to give you the Molly May vibes. I'm not going to tell you that we all have the same 24 hours in a day. We don't all have the same 24 hours in a day. But we often say there isn't time. But in reality, unless you have really young children, in which case you have a hall pass, um, if you have other caring responsibilities or a handful of other reasons, can you honestly say that you don't have any time to dedicate towards your own self-development or for making your life that tiny bit better? I'm going to leave that one with you for a second to mull over. This isn't an exercise in beating you up. This is an exercise in getting you to look at your own mindset. We are all very busy people. I totally get that. And this is why I talk about 30 minutes a day. Do you have time to look at your phone through the course of the day? This is one of the most powerful exercises I did. I looked at my screen time. Go and look at yours now. It might be low, it might be high. This is purely an example, but this is one of the biggest shifts for me. I used to spend hours mindlessly scrolling and not doing anything, and I've actually cut my screen time by 2 hours a day because of the amount of time I was spending on it. So many of us do work on our phones. I know I do. So my screen time is high. It's around 5 hours a day. It's not a shaming exercise, but is there any of that time that you could give up? Could you find 20 minutes or 30 minutes there? Be honest with yourself. How much of it is that you don't have time and how much of it is something else? It might be that you don't know where to start. It might be that you think self-development takes too long, it's too painful. You might be waiting for that perfect moment to do the things you really want with your life. You might have poor mental health. I've suffered greatly over the years with my mental health, and I know how hard it is to pull yourself out of that situation. But often you are the only one that can do it. Any other thoughts that you might have around why you can't do something? Maybe you don't think you're good enough. Maybe you think that you should be giving your time to others instead of giving it to yourself. So I want to present you with a challenge. I want you to look at your week and I want you to start taking a pad around with you. And I want you to write down what you're doing all the time. So once you do that exercise, as much of a pain as it is to remember to do it, you might surprise yourself with time that you're wasting. And I'm going to go on to a few of the areas that clients of mine have found after doing this exercise. So here are some of those ideas. I've had clients who've changed their work routine. If you have the flexibility to do that, it can be really great and it can be a really good way to free up extra time. I know that times are really hard out there. It doesn't work for everyone. None of these work for everyone, but they're suggestions. Can you watch one less episode of your favorite show? I know that we all use TV to unwind, but could you watch one less half an hour to dedicate the time to yourself instead? Is there anything you can get help with? I've been terrible over the years at accepting help, but slowly I'm starting to allow people to help me. There are some people in my life that I pay for services from. Again, we don't all have the ability to do that. I am There are many more services that I would like to pay for than what I currently do, but I have to budget. Are there any things that people can help with that you wouldn't have to pay them for? I had a client who used to complain about the amount of time she had to spend taking her son to football when she just stayed in the car anyway. And they ended up doing a rota on who will take the kids to football. So they got a few mums together, and that freed up about an hour or two a week for her. Can you say no to things that you don't want to do anyway? Many of us who don't dedicate enough time to ourselves are people pleasers. So think about that. I did it yesterday. I said that I would do something, and then I immediately had to backtrack because I realized I didn't want to do it. I didn't have the time for it. And it wasn't going to do anything for me or that person, really. They were just relying on me as the first person they came across. Could you have less screen time? It's not true for all of us, but maybe it is for you. Are there things that you can pre-plan that you do regularly? I've been working for ages on shopping lists. So I have a few different shopping lists that I can just pluck out, and I know what my meals are going to be for the week and I know what I need to buy. Just these tiny little time-saving exercises. Is there something that you could fix in your house that would save you time? Have a think about it. If there's something that you do every day that takes you time, could you shave off a few minutes here and there? Think of it like marginal gains. This one's a sore point for me, I can't lie. Getting up 30 minutes earlier or getting ready for bed 30 minutes earlier. I'm naturally quite a night owl, and actually having to get up and take a child to school doesn't really sit well with the way that my ideal routine would work. But I obviously have to do it. And the only place that I can find more time in my life right now is to get up earlier. So I'm really slowly working on it. I'm getting up 10 minutes earlier, and then 10 minutes earlier, and then 10 minutes earlier. So those are all suggestions from clients of mine or from myself. Is there anything else that you would add? Are you thinking of something right now? If you are, write it down and make a note to actually go ahead and do it. If you give time, you get time. So trust me when I say what I want to tell you about today is an investment of your time that will give you so many things. It will give you peace. It will give you peace of mind. It can give you a relaxed nervous system. You can feel more present. You can feel more happy, and you have more purpose. Sound good? I used to never give myself any time. Basically, I was the classic, putting everything and everyone else ahead of myself. I didn't even really know what my own needs were. And some of you might be really resonating with that now. So, the other element to this is if you can give yourself even a little bit of time, why aren't you? What's getting in your way and what's stopping you? Is it a fear of the unknown? Is it thinking that you don't deserve it? Is it that you don't know where to start? Really, really often, it's not knowing where to start. So, as I say, we're all, many of us in this same position, running a house, doing life admin, sorting out children and their crises, life admin, the cat's been sick, school emails, school emails, after school clubs, before school clubs, car trouble, relative drama, illness, people asking you to do things. So it's no wonder we often end up with no idea where to start with looking after ourselves. So the consequences of doing all of those things repeatedly and never putting ourselves first are that we can get overwhelmed and we don't actually take any action at all. Or we can constantly feel in fight or flight mode, which can lead to problems like burnout, just exhaustion generally. So remember that at least 46% of us are operating here. And there might even be more people who are listening to this than that 46%. Many, many, many of us are operating in this place. So, how do we change this? There's a few ways, but the main thing we're here to talk about today is goal setting. So, the right goals can mean that most of your day-to-day activities are aligned to these goals. If you're quite far away from those goals, it will take time. But I'm a big advocate of tiny changes, step by step by step. To give you an example, if your goal for 2024 was to organize your finances, so this is a me example. Since the beginning of 2024, I've been going through a period in my life where I need to keep a close eye on my money. I had to leave a business last year. I started a new one. I lost my dad. I wasn't able to work for a while. So finances has been top of my sort out list for a long time. So I think about what I can go without. I've had to make sacrifices in my life. And by the way, I know that there are many more people out there who don't have choices in what they can sacrifice. I'm operating from a lucky position that I'm able to do this, but I still really need to be careful about what I do. And I can only talk from my own experiences. Right now, I'm in a better financial position than I've been in a long time, but equally, I've had some really rough and difficult times over the years of working out where my next meal is coming from. So I do identify with that, but right now I'm talking about where I am at this point in my life. So I will constantly be thinking, can I make X meal go further? Can I eat from the cupboard or the freezer rather than going out and buying more food? And that sounds relatively extreme, but also it's just about making these tiny, tiny little changes because they all add up. I tend to do a thing where if I've not bought something, I put the money in an account so it goes into my savings. So I just start to see that grow. Because I do all of these tiny little changes, I try and make savings in different places. I try and put money aside. I try and go without things so that I can afford other things because I know from experience, because I've done this before, that soon I will have more money because I've been able to make those little tweaks and changes and sacrifices and to do more work. Because I've done practices daily that help me open my mind and focus on taking action to earn more money, then doing something each day brings me closer to that goal of having more money. So let's take it back to where we start. This is a really simple step one for knowing where to start. It's a classic coaching tool and it works well because it's simple. I do this exercise again and again when I'm looking at new goals. So on a piece of paper, I want you to draw this circle and label each area. I'll just give you a few minutes to do that. I always think that this looks like a Trivial Pursuit playing pieces. If you're a 90s kid, you'll know what I'm talking about. So once you've done that, and if you haven't done that, pause the video now until you've finished. But when you're done, the next thing I want you to do, we're going to draw on each of the segments, or cheeses as we used to call them when we were playing Trivial Pursuit when I was a kid. I don't know. I'd love to know what you called them. Message me. Because I think everyone's different. So think of one at the center here, right at the center of the wheel, and 10 at the edge. So I want you to think about each area. So here I've thought about career and I'm about a 6 out of 10 on career right now. So this is just an example. You don't have to put your 6 out of 10 on career. In fact, I just put a line anywhere just to demonstrate it to you. So I want you to think about each area, how you feel on a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 would obviously be down here. 10, you would have a line right at the top. So once you've done that for 1, I want you to move on and do all of them. So each different area will have a different rating. So one of the questions I get asked quite often when I do this exercise is, what do you mean by family, or what do you mean by financial? So this is really key to think about what you see as family. So it might be that you have friends that are more like family and you're not finding that your relationships with them are particularly great. So put whatever you want to in that regard. It might be that you have a really wonderful family life, you have children, you get on well with your parents and siblings, and you might pop that somewhere out here. So if you need to hit pause to complete that, then feel free to do so now. So what we've actually got here is your answer to where do I start? I've done this exercise a lot and it really does change over time. But what it does is give you that answer. Where do I start? So for me here, with what I filled in, you could see that I would be focusing on finances. So that would be my first place that I would start to think about my goals. So some of you might be thinking, but Kirsten, all my lines are near the middle. I don't know where to start. What I'm going to say to you is look at the wheel and look at the one that appeals to you most and just go with your gut and make a decision. I'm going to focus on family, or I'm going to focus on mental and spiritual, or I'm going to focus on physical. Quite often, a lot of things can change because of one area. So if you have a feeling that things will change because of you changing one area, then I would go with that. So we're now going to spend a little bit of time thinking about what the reality of this is like. So with your one topic, what does your life look like right now? So taking the example you've chosen, so I'm going to use finances for me. As I said earlier, it's a hot topic for a lot of us. So here you might be writing something like, I am X amount in debt. I don't have spare cash left at the end of the month. I can't afford to do the things I'd like to do, etc., etc. So I want you to hit pause and write out the things that you feel about this. What's your current reality in terms of this particular area? So hit pause. Okay, so welcome back. I want you to think about now about your preferred reality. And I want you to think about what does that look like? So with the finance example, it might be I am debt free. It might be I have spare money left at the end of the month, disposable income. It might be I have £5,000 in savings, whatever it is. I feel like that's wishful thinking right now, but these are the big goals that we're going to go for. And I want you to just take a couple of moments to do that. If you pause the video until you've thought about what your preferred reality looks like. So, what are the things you have in this new reality? Welcome back. So, I want to go one step further with this preferred reality. What does this life actually look like? What happens when all of those targets for you are met? When you have £5,000 in the bank, when you have disposable income, whatever it might be. So, what does it look like? You wake up in the morning. What's your bed like? What's your house like? What's outside your window? It might be exactly as it is now, but what do you feel like? So, what is the feeling that you get from this thing? What do you do on a day-to-day basis? What do you see? Who do you see? And hit pause again and just spend a moment or two thinking about what that's like. And again, welcome back. Everyone's still with me. So, next up, we're writing the goal. So, really simple ones going back to the financial example might be debt free, might be save £5,000. So, what I want you to do when you write this out is write as if this has already happened. So, and use positive language. So, I am debt free. I have £5,000 in the bank. I have multiple streams of income. Because when you're putting it in the present tense, it's as if you already have it and you're moving mentally towards having that when you work on your goals every day. So I want you to take a few moments to do that. I'm just going to tell you one more thing about it and then feel free to pause me. It can be useful to use SMART. So SMART objectives, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So instead of saying lose weight, you'd say I lost 2 stone by the 1st of January 2025. Instead of save money, you'd say I saved £2,000 by the 25th of June 2025. Instead of declutter, you'd say The surfaces in my bedroom and kitchen of my home are clear and calm. My cupboards are organized, and I regularly resell or rehome items I no longer use. And then a date. You probably shorten that one when you write it out, but you need to have the aims. So start to write out your goal, take 2 minutes, pause me, and come back. I just wanted to tell you about somebody that I've worked with that had really great success with this method. This is Carrie, and we have coached each other for a couple of years now. And when we started, she felt pretty, in her own words, discombobulated. So she was lacking time, she felt disorganized in every single area of her life, and she couldn't seem to stick to one thing for longer than a few weeks before she veered off track. So what we did was go back to complete basics with some goals. We talked at length about each of the stress areas that were really bothering her. We prioritized them to start really crafting goals that helped her to slowly align her daily activities with them. And we worked on boundaries and different ways of approaching situations at work and in family life. The daily practice we worked out for her in particular had a huge impact, and I'm going to talk about that right at the end of today. In her own words, having gone through this process and being coached by me, she says, I've stepped out of my shadow and been able to align what I want with how I behave and how I expect others to treat me. This has allowed me to feel more present in my relationships. So far, we've talked a lot about a lack of time we have in our lives and started to think about how we can find more of it and commit to ourselves to creating more. We've had a go at setting a goal and we've worked out how we might do that. And in just a moment, I'm going to share with you my top tips for sticking to those goals and being committed. So stick around. So none of these things are easy to rectify. We don't just find time overnight. We don't just decide what we're going to focus on and run with it, although I kind of wish we would. But if we're not careful, we're going to end up with those same issues, and we're going to be sitting here again next year with the same problems of overwhelm, time, and not knowing where to start. So I'm going to tell you 5 ways to stay committed, 5 ways to stay on track with your goals so that you don't move off course. But first, I just want a few moments of your time. So I have an offer for you that is for you if you're a busy working woman. If you have kids, they're about school age. You're willing to commit to at least one weekend to yourself, and you're willing to commit to 30 minutes a day or 3 hours a week, most weeks, for your own development and success. And in fact, it might even be a shorter time period than that. But the key is that you want lasting change and you want things to be different. This isn't for you if you're a busy working mum with a child or children under 2 or 3. All bets are off. It's hard. I'll see you when when they're a bit older. If you're not willing to commit to change, feel free to stop right now. If you want things to stay the same and you're happy to be in the same position this time next year, not for you either. At the end of November, I'm holding a retreat weekend, and it's going to focus on these 4 things: deep rest and relaxation. So, taking that time out for yourself and really committing to give yourself that time. Connection, fun, and new experiences, which you might not have that much time to do if you're a busy working woman. We're going to learn. So, we're going to learn how to better ourselves in terms of perimenopause symptoms. We're going to do coaching workshops, and we're going to identify some of our own goals and dreams. And most importantly, we're going to have a lot of fun and a lot of laughter. There will be nourishing food and drinks with our own private chef. You're going to be able to try out lots of relaxation, self-care, and anti-overwhelm tools. And I do have a focus on taking tools back to your everyday life. So at the end of this week, on Sunday night, I'm going to be announcing who has won a place on a day retreat next year. And I'm also going to be sending out an exclusive discount code to everybody that's taken part in Self Love Week. So I want you to look out for that. If you can't wait and you want to know more about the retreat right now, then you can go over to my Instagram at Shine On Tribe and drop me a DM, or you can pop over to my website, www.shineontribe.co.uk. So, back to our 5 ways that we stay on track. And this is backed by science. So, number one is write it down. So, a Harvard study found that by writing goals down, participants were 42% more likely to achieve them, particularly when this is combined with accountability and alignment. So, what do I mean by this? Accountability is having somebody that you trust to keep you on track with what you want. So, first up, tell your friends, tell your relatives, tell the internet about your goals. You're much more likely to stay on track. Having a coach or a mentor who can assist you with that accountability is going to mean even better results. And alignment. So, this is simply taking actions that align with your goal. It might sound obvious, but if you can make your life align with your goals, your daily actions align with your goals. So, for example, I want to save money. I have a coffee at home and I put £3.50 in my savings account. I want to declutter. I allocate 5 minutes a day to decluttering. Get used to asking the question, how does this align with the life that I want? So you're constantly making choices about your life. How does it align with the life that you really want to create for yourself? Is this a choice that I want to make? And why? So a strong why can ensure that you continue even when times are tough. So, for example, a why for changing your career might be that you want to set the example to your kids that you don't stay places that you're unhappy. A why for regular exercise might be, I want to live as long a life as possible. A why for saving money might be, I want the freedom to take time off when I need it. Make sense? And lastly, visuals and visualization. So this is actually 2 tips squeezed into one because I love you. So visuals just means something like a picture on the wall with your goals. It means a vision board. It means a phone screensaver, etc. Visualization is practicing seeing and feeling in your mind what each of these things look like. And I've literally just done that with you in that exercise where I asked you to write down what your preferred reality looks like. That is visualization. So, an example to bring all of these 5 tips together, and sorry, let me put them on the screen as well. So, to bring all these together, I write down my goal, which is I lost 2 stone in 12 weeks. I have accountability in the form of my coach, my gym buddy, and my diary. I take aligned actions towards this, which include exercise daily, even if it's just a short walk. I keep in my mind my why, which is to live a longer and healthier life. I have an old picture of myself on my vision board and on the inside of the snack cupboard. I hope that all makes sense. So, the 30-minute a day commitment. Well, it depends on your goals, but a brief overview of what I do for 30 minutes each day or 3 times a week minimum. So, when times are really, really tough for me, I might not do this practice every day. I try to do it at least 5 days a week, but a minimum of 3. So every night, I write out every single one of my goals again. That's why it's important to get them short and snappy. I write what I've done towards each of those goals today. So what are my aligned actions? If I haven't done anything, then congratulations to me because I have 30 minutes to go and find a micro action that I can take towards that goal. I practice gratitude. So I think of and I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. So this is another bit of science because by practicing gratitude, we're rewiring our brains to look for more good things and we're releasing serotonin and dopamine. I also have a habit tracker in my goals diary. So I track my habits. Here I've got things like water intake, movement, cold water therapy, reading, meditation, whatever those things are that calm and regulate you. I track each of my habits daily. Some days I do nothing, other days I do all of them. But it's just keeping track of them aligns my actions. So I'm much more likely to remember to do them. So that is your 30-minute daily practice. Thank you so much for joining me today. Here are some pictures of the beautiful West Lexham, which is where I'm holding my weekend retreat. And of course, if you have any questions on it at all, either on that or coaching or about anything that I've spoken about today, then you can book a discovery call with me via my website, or you can drop me a DM via Instagram. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a fabulous rest of the year and a fabulous 2025 too.